Hello, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party, and my buddy Rhett. She's right back there, waiting for her nut. And we are doing some coding, and I'm to the point where I'm doing um, end-to-end testing. And I will say that I believe that end-to-end testing is probably the missing piece. That almost every job I've had, probably for the last 10 years, the missing piece has been end-to-end testing. Now, the problem I have worked in some places that had end-to-end testing, but they the issue was that the first place I ever worked that we had end-to-end testing, the issue was that like it literally would take it 3 days to run all the tests from end to end. So the rule was that you had to write code, you'd get your story, you'd write some code, you'd commit it, you'd push it, and then you'd get like a what they call it's like a I can't remember what the word is. But there's a word for like something that doesn't stay around. Um, and so they would create like an instance of the application, and then we'd run our the end-to-end test against that instance of the application. It would take it like 3 days, and normally something would go wrong in that 3 days, and we were not supposed to commit our code until that passed. I mean, we weren't supposed to attempt to put it into a PR until that passed. And so then what would happen was it would take 3 days. By the time you ran it, if you actually did it in the 3 days, you, you always had code conflicts. Somebody else always had something else going on. And it was just not feasible the way they set it up. But that doesn't mean that it has to be that way, right? Like and then the other place I worked, the end-to-end tests were just so fragile that like if you made any change to it at all, it broke all the end-to-end tests. Um, so, but I do think that that is the key to actually being able to build software in 2026. That's the missing piece. Now, will we ever get it as an industry? I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever figure it out, but that is that. So basically, all I want to do is check to make sure that this app layout viewer exists, that app layout toolbar exists, and that app update editor exists. That's it. Maybe in the future I'll go deeper and try to. Yeah, I mean, for sure, the future as we start to build things out, we'll go deeper and try to figure out like more things to lock in. But so, anyways, app update layout viewer is the name of this thing. So I'm just going to copy that into my clipboard. And then I'm going to go to my end-to-end tests. And then basically we want to do this shouldn't be too bad. cy.get. And then we want, I think, just this, right? And then say should exist. Exist. Not exists, but exist singular. All right, I think everything went okay. Let's see, I guess we'd have to look over here. Yep. And now we want to get, there's two more, and then we're done. That's it. And then we're doing commit. And then we're going to try to upgrade to Angular 22. And then we're going to try to update to Angular 22. And then we are going to refactor to have groups being built out, not meshes. I think it's meshes. Yeah, it's meshes. So right now we add a mesh to a geometry. I mean, to a scene. And then, but we shouldn't be. We should be adding a group to a scene. Like every, I think everything gets better if you go by groups instead of by meshes. I mean, yeah, because then you can group lights together, and then you could move the group around as a group. Um, and if the group is just one thing, it's no different. I will say though that in my other project, um, like so I think a trick that we generally like, it's a standard sort of idea that I kind of tactic that we'll do. Like what we want to do is sort of to generalize things. So that's a strategy, right? The strategy is like, okay, I want to make a general way to do things. And then a tactic that we use is by creating like a function that sort of that sort of automates, I guess might be the best way, sort of like codes away, like makes things like to where like you don't you it where like I have a function that I call, and then that call sort of does the same thing but to different objects, right? So I guess that's kind of like dependency injection, or really not. But anyways, I don't know what the name of it is, but you have a function and you give this function something, and then it operates itself. It's almost the opposite of dependency injection, right? So you create like a generalized function and you say, hey, take care of this thing. And then within that function, if there's any edge cases or something like that, you sort of handle that in the edge function. The problem is the way ThreeJS did things is it's not always consistent the way you do things. So like if you want to set the position of the camera, then you could say set position X, set position Y, set position Z, right? You can set the positions. But if you want to set the look at for a camera, well, you have to pass it all three things. You can't say look at X equals 10 and now look at Y equals 5. You have to do it all in one fell swoop. Now, those could have been done the same way, and either way is fine. It would have just been nice if they had done it the same way for both of them. And the thing is there might even be a way to set the position with an X, Y, and Z. But the problem is that um, there's going to be other things down the road, and so we can't the way ThreeJS did things, they sort of did things in a way that would work for, the industry, um, or for whatever, they were trying to do. It works. It works great. But it doesn't always, but it's not consistent across things. So you can't just go with that tactic of, hey, um, I'm just going to create a general function and just pass all these. But like for moving things around and all that, groups are perfect, right? You throw everything in, and the way you move a group around is the way you move a group around, whether it's got images in there or meshes or whatever. It doesn't matter what's in there. If it's part of a group, if it can be part of a group, it can be moved around in a consistent way. But then how you like make a lighter or more dim or something like that you have to operate on the individual piece within the group. But so it looks like we're good. So now we'll just go ahead and get rid of this. We didn't change any code for this. So now it should run both sets of tests instead of just the one. All right. So it passes and ensure top three components exist. All right. So now we just kill this thing. And let's look in here and kind of go over all of our. So these are all our changes. Well, no, I probably will want to save this. So we created 4 new things. So I did not finish this editor. So create an editor page between rows with 2 buttons. All I did was create the editors, but I'm decided to move on to upgrading and refactoring before I do that. Um, Now the refactor is completely driven by my other project that I'm working on, the short videos that I do. That's where it became very obvious that everything should be in a group, not in a um, not try to deal with meshes directly. And I think everything looks good. So at this point where I'm just going through the like to do commits, like all I'm really looking for is um like anything that just jumps out as messed up. So unit test. So a lot of times I used to try really hard to do like a real, like kind of what I do for unit testing. Like during unit testing, it's like, okay, I need to understand every single aspect of the software, um, of each line, like I need to understand every line inside and out. That goes away for me. Um, or I used to do that sort of line by line understanding at this point, but that is so much harder at this point. Because at this point, you're just so close to the end, you just want to get done. Um, but basically, what I'm looking for is like console logs, comments that I didn't intend to make it all the way through to the end, something like that. I don't even know oh, that's just a brand new thing. Now, the other thing I did want to mention, and I don't really get it at this point, but I think it's very clear, is that, see, I have this update layout as a standalone component, which makes sense, right? So like if you look in here and you look at the TypeScript, you see that it is oh, okay, the default is standalone, right? But really, all the rest of these pieces, the layout, viewer, toolbar, and editor, they are part of this standalone component. So they really should, I think what I'm supposed to have is like a module that kind of ties all these pieces together. And the advantage to that is then I think I can make, with that module, that gives me the power to make a service that is not a singleton throughout the entire application, but is a singleton throughout this component. So all these components could be saving their own information. They have their own version of the service. And I think that's kind of the whole idea of modules. But when Angular first came out, like everything was in a module. Um, and it was just like everything is part of some giant module thing that you've composed together. And then standalone came out, and like nothing is in a module by default. So I guess the next level of sort of mastery of all this stuff is being able to create a module and then add a bunch of had services and components and different things within that module that's just for that set of that cobbled together component that's part of a bunch of other composed of a bunch of other components. So I don't know. Let's say I don't even know how I do this git log. I think I put the video number in. Oh, we want to go down like this. Oh, I put the issue in and then say what it did. Okay, so this is issue 31. Git commit -m issue 31, and this basically I think it basically refactors the update component into 4 components and a service. And that's what we're doing. So let's do this. And so we're going to git push that. And now we'll go to GitHub. Yay. Tomorrow is the 4th of July. Now I know that like I want to say like 9 out of 10 of people, the very few people that look at my videos, 9 out of 10 of you are not in the United States. I believe the majority of people who regularly watch this video are in India or in China. Um, and then there's like other parts of the world too. Um, so, um, so I don't know exactly how you perceive Fourth of July and stuff like that, but I know that I perceive it. So, see, this is what we just sent up. I know I'm very pleased and happy to be part of the United States and be an American citizen and all that. So it's just something I truly appreciate. So I'm gonna kind of do another quick review of all the code. And then, now, if you most people that I know that are really like immigrants to the United States that are really happy here, the main thing they're happy about is the infrastructure. Really more than anything else. Like there's all kinds of stuff that people talk about, like, oh, freedom of speech, freedom to carry guns, all kinds of stuff like that. But um, the really the biggest thing that when I talk to people is like they'll bring up, the ideas that like basically like it's very unusual to get like a power outage here in the United States. Just doesn't happen. All houses have almost all houses have um, air conditioning here. I don't know. I wish I knew how to mute this thing. So this is my work phone, so I don't know exactly. But no one really should be calling me on this phone. I mean, I hope that's not my boss or something trying to call me, but I don't think so. I've been getting phone calls on it because apparently whoever owned the number for before um, had a lot of friends. I don't know what happened to that person. I don't know if they just lost the phone or if they passed away or what happened, but um, but they had a lot of friends, and so they get a lot of phone calls that aren't really for me. All right, so I'm going to create this pull request. Now, this is the point in time that you would normally, if you were re if you were reviewing the pull request, that you would do like the deep dive and all that. And I mean, you want to talk about something that's just different everywhere. The way pull requests are done are just absolutely like completely different everywhere you go. Um, there's no consistency. Now, my favorite thing that I always want to like, it's probably like, how sometimes it's a buyer's market, right? And so if you pretty much they say, hey, do you have any questions? Like your only question is like, am I going to get paid? I just want to work. I just want to write some code. I want to get paid. But sometimes it's a seller's market, and then you get to ask questions about them. To me, the number one question is to figure out like if it's a place that you really want to work, that you're going to be like valued as a developer is the way you resolve comments. So in some places, and for some reason, everyone thinks that their way is the obvious and correct way to do it. And there's really only two ways to do it. And whichever of the two ways your side does, what your work organization does, seems like it's super obvious. But if it's the other way, it seems super obvious that way too. And that's, does the person who writes the code, do they mark a comment as resolved, or does the person who made the comment mark the comment as resolved? If the person who made the comment marks the comment as resolved, then they probably don't think much of you. But if you get to resolve the comment, then they think a lot of you. And they are because so the general thing is like, hey, I made this comment. I'm the one who knows if it's resolved or not. And that I think that that's a reasonable way of looking at things. But there's a whole other set, probably another half of the industry that says you're a professional. if you want to mark something as resolved, if you think you've addressed it and resolved it, you're a professional, go ahead and mark it as resolved yourself. If you're not sure, then leave it unresolved. But if you think you've resolved it, mark it as resolved. And oh my gosh, if you're in a place where you were supposed to mark it as resolved yourself and you don't mark it as resolved, then your PR will just sit there and languish because everyone's waiting for you to mark all the comments as resolved. But if you're in a place where they expect to mark it, then they are like, wait, why didn't I ever get that email saying that they finished it? Let me go look. Wait, why? How did this get merged? I didn't even mark my comment as resolved. I never even got to check my comment. So it's just one of those things that, but it's generally better to work at places where you mark your own comments as resolved. Just personal observation. It's obviously better to get paid to work than to not get paid to work, unless you're rich or something. But anyways, that's just my personal opinion. All right, so I need to create another issue. I have had two issues, I think. Yeah, so that I don't care about. So basically, we have two issues. One is upgrade to Angular 22. And so that is what I'm going to be working on next. Create a branch, check out locally, and boom, and get. I wonder if I could do that. Check out. I don't think I could do this. Oh, yeah, I could. No, couldn't. Get fetch. Now get checkout. Oh, did not want to do that. Oh, is that? Oh, okay, so I'm on the right. Okay, so that's the branch I want. I also want to create another issue, and that is refactor to have a group in between the. How does that work? Let me go look at my interfaces. It's so nice to have the interfaces as a resource to go look at and figure out what's going on. So we know that meshes, I believe meshes are inside of scenes. Yeah. So this needs to be group IDs, not mesh IDs. And I do not know what that's going to be like. It's actually going to be very useful because at some point we're going to add light IDs and stuff like that. So, like, I don't think I optimized this very well to do that. And I think what I probably actually would to start with will be like ST group IDs and then like that and make it optional. And then so I don't know. I don't know exactly how I'm going to migrate that, but I definitely need instead of this being mesh IDs, this needs to be group ID, and then a group can have an array of mesh IDs, and then everything needs to be updated around that so that um, it all works between the scene, the mesh array, and that's what we're doing. So we'll create that. We don't need a branch yet. The branch we create on that will be um, based on our 22 branch, hopefully. So one more thing, and that is add icons for um, I can't even remember what those things are supposed to be. For I think actually in the let's see, did we still have this running? Update toolbar controls and status. Okay, so the two controls we wanted was one that would show this in full size versus max versus defined. Max view slash defined view toggle. And that's probably not going to be quite enough information for me to come up to speed in the future, so I need to do that. So that I think the other one I wanted to do was two, and that was the other one was I can't even remember what the other one was to I don't even remember. Okay, so add an icon that will show the visualization on update page. Um, as defined, find or maximized. Um, it will be a toggle. So it'll be like a toggle, and when you click on it, it'll be like, let's see. Like when you click on it, then this right now this is maximized, and then it'll click, and then you click it, and it'll be like viewed like this. So if you were to look at like the data for this, it says it's supposed to be at 0, 200, and like if I add another one, oops, then this one is here. So when I'm in this view, if I'm update and I'm viewed as toggled, it would be right here. So it's going to be like kind of like it's going to be exactly the way it's defined as opposed to the way it is with the way that is. Oh, the other one I wanted to do was zoom, so let's do this one. New issue. Um, zoom in out on the and it's not a toggle. I don't think that I think both the in and out will always be there, so you can always click on that. And probably when you mouse over, it'll probably have like a little thing that tells you what the current zoom is. And that is that. We should be done. I mean so next thing is our 22 upgrade. Um, it's its own branch, so we're safe. Like if something gets botched or whatever, we still have branches that don't have the upgrade in it. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.